work and what won't at the end of the meeting. So we'll play this by ear. So barring any technical difficulties, we'll try to put the recording and make it available sometime after the meeting. A little bit about KDOT Aviation. Also on the call with us, Brian Casson, Chief of Strategic Planning and Programming. He is our UAS and AAM guru. He has as much industry knowledge as anyone that I know, and he's a great resource for the division. Working with emerging technologies, he is also a Part 107 drone pilot. Next up, Sean Lionette, I believe, is also on the call. Research project manager, also works with Brian in UAS, AAM, and emerging technologies. He's also special projects and research. You guys have all met me. I'm an actual aircraft pilot. I have to throw that in there. Sorry to anyone that's a 107 pilot, but I don't have the 107 license yet. One thing that I saw at a recent trade show that I think is extremely descriptive of what we have coming up. So these are two pictures. If you're able to see them, I'm sorry if you're not on your computer, but these are taken 13 years apart. This is the National Archives at New York, Fifth Avenue. The photo on the left is showing horse and buggy and pedestrian traffic of Fifth Avenue in 1900. Photo on the right shows cars, and there's only one horse and buggy to be seen in the entire picture. So cars show a real change in technology within the span of 13 years. I think we're on to kind of a similar change with aviation. And, the skies above Kansas are going to look dramatically different over the next 10 to 15 years. So we're looking at advanced air mobility, emerging aviation technology that's capable of serving areas that are previously hard to reach. Typically electric, typically can be hybrid, can be vertical takeoff or short takeoff or conventional takeoff. I have a couple of examples here, an Archer and a Beta. Now it's important to take a look at this technology because on the left there's a Joby, on the right there's a J3 Cub. There's an absolute difference between what skill set is needed, what infrastructure is needed for the aircraft on the left versus the aircraft on the right. And if we don't work towards being able to grow our current skill set, our infrastructure, our workforce, our education system, if we don't grow towards supporting all of these things that we'll need to support the emerging aviation technology, then we're going to be left behind. So with AAM, planning for the future really involves several key areas, including electrification, infrastructure improvements, manufacturing and support services, supporting workforce development, education outreach, economic impact, and then potentially a statewide road mapping effort. These are all things that we need to plan for now. If we wait until AAM is commercially viable, within the next 10 years or so, then we're already too late. We're that far behind. The reason behind this working group has been actually relayed to me through several members of this working group, as well as organizations outside the working group. I have heard on numerous occasions that, Oklahoma has a united front. North Dakota, Georgia, North Carolina has a united front when it comes to AAM. All of the stakeholders within the state work together to grow the industry and are sharing their resources to be able to promote AAM. Kansas hasn't done that very well. We have various stakeholders that have their own efforts that are doing a lot of great work, but we have areas of overlap, several redundancies that are just wasteful from a resource standpoint, but also from a human capital standpoint. So getting everyone within the space to the table where we can have a collaborative discussion, we can start working together, pooling resources, reducing redundant efforts, and filling voids is key to us implementing an AAM strategy or an advanced emerging aviation technology strategy that can help propel Kansas, help keep us the air capital of the world. This is an opportunity to make meaningful connections, spark thought and conversation, and act. Every effort that I have been a part of has been a lot of talk and there's no action. And this is going to be meaningless if we don't have actionable items. So this is an opportunity for us to spark conversation, to work together, to act on whatever develops out of that conversation. So for planning purposes, our next meeting is July the 24th, assuming we don't have any other technical difficulties. Suggested working group meeting cadence, potentially monthly. That's not to say that the members, the stakeholders within the working group can't get together. We encourage people to use this as an opportunity to make connections and start conversations from build upon what you hear today and in future meetings and start these conversations offline. Don't wait until the next monthly meeting for you to have, conversation with other members of the working group. Establish something, start these conversations, and bring your successes and whatever effort you have back to the working group so we can understand what's going on and help keep moving forward. With that, I have the MITRE group coming up next that will discuss specifically the engagement effort for the state of Kansas to roadmap AAM. And Dr. Nina, I will turn it over to you, ma'am.
All right, sounds great. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen, pop up a few slides, and talk a little bit about strategy.
Sounds good.
Okay, looks okay coming through?
It is.
Okay, so just starting off with a little overview. I wasn't sure exactly how much experience this group has with AAM. I know a lot of you have been working in it already. Some of you may be newer to it. So we thought we'd start with just a little bit of an introduction around kind of what AAM is and kind of how we approach looking at AAM as a whole. So obviously, this is an emerging technology, like Ray mentioned. It's a kind of new form of air transportation that's bringing new capabilities of these advanced aircraft that have higher degrees of automation, innovative technologies, innovative propulsion systems, and expected to bring new opportunities of ways to access communities, provide equitable access, and new opportunities to access air transportation. And so thinking about what this looks like for Kansas, we've been talking a lot about how do we prepare for what AAM means for Kansas, and how do we strategize for preparing to bring AAM to Kansas. And that's what led us to talking about developing a strategy and developing a roadmap so that we can actually put something more specific on paper to describe what we think AAM is going to look like for the state. So this is a really it's a broad diagram to show the entire AAM ecosystem that we like to think about when we talk about how to strategize for AAM. So I know all of us on this call are passionate about aviation. We all have a lot of aviation background. AAM is so much more than just aviation. And you can see here, this ecosystem just highlights the many different dimensions that the AAM experience and operations are going to entail. And so when we think about what is it that we need to do today and what is it that we need to do in the next 2, 5, even 10 years to keep advancing what Kansas is going to be doing in AAM, we have to look at the entire ecosystem. And if any one of these pieces doesn't mature and doesn't progress, then AM isn't going to be realized, or it may not be realized in the way that we want and in the way that we're defining success. And so just kind of touching on some of the key pieces here. Operations, that's obviously the first one anyone thinks about, but this is going to include not just what are the requirements for the environment, for the aircraft. There's also the data integration pieces. There's the crew, there's training. We talked about workforce development. all of those pieces that go into enabling the operations. Regulations, I know we talk a lot about what's happening on the federal side, but there's also a really big state role in what regulations look like and what existing regulations may apply to certain use cases. And so what are we looking at when we see things like using AAM for healthcare uses or ways to incentivize AAM through different types of policies and different type of regulations, and what can be done at the state level? The urban integration is really important when we talk about multimodal systems. And so obviously AAM is going to be fitting into this existing transportation network that we already have in Kansas. How does it fit in? How does it seamlessly connect to what's being done via ground, via rail, via other modes of transportation, via crewed aviation? Airspace integration, obviously, that's another big one that fits really well with the operations. But what does that look like again for Kansas? Are there corridors that we see having routine operations? Are there particular operators to be aware of to make sure we're hearing their concerns and knowing what general aviation communities want to see with AAM and how they want to operate together? And then infrastructure. Where do we want to be putting down physical infrastructure? What are the digital infrastructure needs? How do we enable the charging capabilities and the other support services that AAM operations need to operate? And then technology is the last piece, the piece that's being driven by industry right now through the development of different aircraft, but also looking at communications capabilities, looking at traffic management systems, and other sorts of technical systems that are needed to make sure that these operations can work in the air. So when you look at the entire ecosystem, you can really see all the different moving parts that need to happen in order to make sure that AAM is a reality. And when we talk about building a strategic plan or a roadmap, we want to make sure that we're thinking about all of these things and thinking about how Kansas can be focusing on integrating all of these together and also working with all of the stakeholders to make sure that all of these pieces are represented and every stakeholder is represented in each of these pieces as well. So the effort that we have to create this strategy has three main components to it: a roadmap, a market analysis, and an economic impact study. So the first piece I'll talk about is the roadmap. And that's going to be where largely the strategic plan is going to lay out what the overall vision for Kansas's AAM strategy looks like. So this is going to be defining what are the goals and the milestones for bringing AAM to Kansas, and then looking at some of those particular use cases for what makes sense in Kansas, whether it's regional air mobility, moving people, moving cargo, public operations, commercial operations, really looking at the existing environment in Kansas and trying to figure out what do we see as the most relevant use cases to try to focus on enabling in Kansas, and then mapping out what are the key activities to be able to support what those operations are going to be doing, and what they're going to need to be catalyzed. The market analysis will then take some of those use cases laid out in the roadmap, and that's going to be fleshing them out to additional detail to create demand scenarios and start forecasting what the current and the projected future demand for these operations look like. And through that, we can then look at what different types of metrics could look like in terms of, for example, efficiencies, potential time savings that AM operations can bring, using techniques like mode substitutions to say existing operations that are currently being done through ground transportation or other modes. If you do a mode choice replacement and say, what if we were to transport this via AM instead of a truck, for example, would that save time? Would that be able to provide some sort of a benefit? And trying to really capture what those benefits could look like. And then ultimately feeding that into an economic impact study where we can then monetize what those time savings look like and look at some of the other indirect effects that would affect the entire Kansas economy so that we can really understand what bringing AM to Kansas could look like at a statewide level in terms of translating those use cases into broader economic impacts. So this is just kind of a broad overview of what we're expecting with building out this strategy. And I think a key component of it is going to be working with all of the stakeholders to make sure that we're getting all of the inputs from your perspectives to understand how you see AAM becoming a reality, any concerns you have with AAM in the state, and really kind of making sure that we're grounding what we're doing in the reality of what AAM could be and not, a notional kind of conceptual model that may or may not resonate with what Kansas really needs. So there's a lot of work to do. We're excited to get started, but I think we have a good plan for how to lay out the foundation and start kind of preparing that roadmap to keep that strategy going. Any questions? I think I see one hand up.
Yep. Hi, Pierre Harder from Wichita State. Thanks for the overview. And I'm not sure, this might be more of a Ray question. Reading through the stakeholders here. It seems to me like, Ray, the strategy and kind of the overall making sure that everybody's working together in the state. Are there other state stakeholders that we need? I see you've got commerce on here, so that's great. But are there other folks that you could envision that if we're going to have a cohesive strategy that needs to be implemented, that there's maybe other state department folks that we need to pull in?
Absolutely. So this process is a collaborative effort, and trying to identify what we need to do to move forward. If this group can, recognize or, find another entity that we need to bring to the table, then absolutely, we'd be more than happy to do that. I do want to stress one thing. This isn't a KDOT effort or a specific branded effort. This is more of a state of Kansas effort. So KDOT has engaged with MITRE with the intent and direction saying, we want this to be a state of Kansas effort. Engage with the various stakeholders. Pierre, I'd love to hear other organizations you'd like to pull to the table, and we'll absolutely reach out and include whichever organizations would add value to the conversation.
Gotcha. Thanks, Ray. And I've tossed you a few already, so I'll keep them coming.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right. If there are any other questions that pop up, please feel free to chime in at the end. Next up is KSU. Travis or anyone from KSU online?
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Kurt Caraway. Ray, I was able to make it. So hello, everybody. Nice to see so many familiar names anyway on the screen. With me today, we've got Kirsten Zoller, who is our K-State Salina strategy lead, and then Travis Balthazar, who is one of our UAS faculty, also on here today. I do have a presentation that I'm going to attempt to share. Stand by. Okay, hopefully you're seeing the PowerPoint. Ray,
We're
maybe
not
a
seeing
thumbs
it
up.
yet, Kurt.
Not yet,
You're,
Kurt.
you're not. Okay. Well,
There we go.
okay. All right. Sorry about that. So this is just from a campus view. This is a slide summarizing what our vision looks like, what our priorities are in terms of supporting aviation, aerospace, and technology, which is our campus focus area. You'll see that we're not looking just through it from a higher education lens, but also looking at all levels of education, reaching out to learners at all ages, regardless of where they are. And then an important part of that is a workforce development and upskilling component. It's not all about getting a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. And one of the things that we're very invested in is applied research to be able to help promote the continued advancement of aviation and aerospace and relevant technologies. Some of the things that we offer on the campus from a crewed aeronautics perspective, we've got a well-established professional pilot program, both a 2-year and 4-year degree. We do have reduced ATP Part 141 program, and we are getting ready. I think, Kirsten, correct me if I get this wrong, but this fall starting training out in the Kansas City area, something that we're excited about. On the aviation and maintenance side, also 2- and 4-year degrees and advanced certification. Again, working through opportunities for learners to be able to get involved in aviation maintenance, either with or without a degree. And so really trying to meet them where they are if they're trying to transition and not interested in the complete degree. Not all of the aviation focus areas require a degree, and we recognize that. And so we're here to help facilitate getting those learners engaged and immersed into these aviation fields. Aviation management is another focus area. And one of our newer programs is a Master's of Aeronautics. And something that just happened within this last quarter is FAA's approved for DER status with 3 years of on-the-job training experience instead of the 8 years for those that go through this master's degree program. So that was an exciting breakthrough for us. I failed to introduce my role. I am the UAS department head. So we have an uncrewed aircraft system department head or department program here. And as a part of that, also the executive director of the Applied Aviation Research Center. Through our offerings, of course, we have the 4-year degree, but we also have other areas, other concentrations and opportunities for folks to get involved. We have a minor for students in other focus areas that want to bring UAS into their educational pursuit. And we have a number of certificates. One of the ones that we're really excited about is our Intro to UAS Technology certificate, which is a pre-college opportunity for students at high school to be able to get this. And we really do believe that this package is a good workforce development package. And for students that choose not to pursue higher ed when they graduate high school, if they have this, we do believe that they can go out and get their career started in UAS with the education that we're going to provide. Integrated systems is another one of the departments that we have. The focus there is a couple of them that are relevant, I think, to the conversations here. Computer systems design and dynamics, which is a new degree program that's being launched this fall. That's where students are going to really be able to get immersed into VR and AR, and there's implications in different aspects of aviation for fusing this technology and these capabilities in. Engineering technology is another one of our focus areas. It's one of the main degrees conferred through the Integrated Systems program. And we do have another master's program, Integrated Systems Design and Dynamics. And there are a number of certificates that enrolled students can take to stack into their master's experience. There's been some announcements lately about investments in our campus, and this is depicting a couple of the new ones. The Aerospace Education Hub is going to be a new construction, and we're genuinely excited about that over in UAS because right now we're slightly off campus over on the leasing space from one of our great partners, the Salina Airport Authority. But we're looking forward to getting back on campus and sharing a space with maintenance as well as composites. That's going to be a really good fused capability for really helping engage with not just UAS development, but more importantly, AAM. And so we're looking forward to those opportunities. It's not really depicted on here, but one of the things we're excited about with that is it's going to have ramp access as well. So we'll be able to actually pull in a couple of AAM-sized aircraft into the hangar and do some training education within that new facility. K-Aries is another new facility that I think groundbreaking on that's supposed to happen this quarter. So that's going to happen very soon. And then phase 3 is to be announced to be developed later. A little bit more information about some of these. The key areas one, a $41 million facility with a lot of focus on spatial computing and learning. It's going to be a really exciting space, not exclusive to aviation, but certainly there's going to be a lot of opportunities for using these technologies to help get folks immersed into different types of aviation experiences. And I already talked a little bit about the Aerospace Education Hub, a $28 million facility, 62,000 square feet. And it's going to be, for those of you familiar with campus, it'll be connected to the existing aviation facilities that we have on campus. Just to kind of focus a little bit more on AAM, the focus of the Applied Aviation Research Center on our campus, in a nutshell, it's to promote the commercialization of UAS and AAM and to include integrating into the national airspace. And from an AM perspective, these are some of the things that we're really focused on, some of the goals that we hope to be able to achieve with and through this group. I think that these are things that are really going to help propel our state forward into the AM arena. And these are some areas of where we see ourselves helping to contribute to that team effort. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this other than to say that when it comes to this technology, AM, which was really, we feel like, preceded by UAS technologies, is something that we've been involved in since 2008, and we're the second institution in the United States to offer a UAS degree. So that's something that we're excited about. We've got a broad fleet of multi-rotor aircraft, most of which are small, but we do have one, thanks to our KDOT partnership, the Helio Ag 272 400-pound ag sprayer. We've really been focusing on advanced sensors as well for our students, whether they are LiDAR systems that we're using in our degree programs or systems like those on the right that we're using for public safety non-credit education that we're doing. To give you a little bit of a sense of our existing UAS fleet, we have hybrid vertical takeoff and landing aircraft ranging from those that are fairly small all the way up to the one on the right is a 110-pound liquid-fueled aircraft that we're using for our degree seeking training. The Helio Ag 272 pictured here, it has a capability of carrying up to 18 gallons of applicant and has a max gross weight of 400 pounds. So that's pushing us outside of the Part 107 regime into more advanced operations. And then just getting into some of our focus areas on the advanced air mobility side of things, areas where we see ourselves fitting in, and I appreciate Miter's diagram. This could maybe help point where we see ourselves fitting into some of those areas. Human factors, different flight techniques and analysis are some areas where we think there's opportunity for us and where we've got subject matter expertise, as well as contributing to airspace assessment and analysis. And a lot of the activities that we're really enthusiastic about doing research in are those that have to do with UAS or AAM airworthiness and certification areas, as well as airman certification focus areas. As we think about bridging type certification, aircraft certification, maintenance standards, airman standards for these new disruptive systems, we feel like there's a place for us to be able to help contribute to some of those things. Talking about a little bit more from the research perspective, we're seeing it through our Assure relationship, and I know KU and WSU are also part of the Assure group. By the way, I think there's about 18 core universities in Assure, which is the FAA's UAS and now AEM Research Center of Excellence. 3 of those 18 are from Kansas. That's a point I think we should all brag about. So we're seeing an uptick in AAM funded research through Assure. And some of the things that we think we would like to be able to see, we would like through a partnership with the airport authority and others, the establishment of a vertiport here on the Salina Airport, and an AAM hangar. That's something that we're already leaning towards, as you saw earlier in my presentation. The airport authority is got a great initiative where they're working on establishing detect and avoid capabilities, which will create a really good opportunity for a flight test environment for both advanced UAS and AAM platforms to be able to do some test operations here. And for those that where it's relevant, the Smoky Hill Bomb Range is adjacent, trying to get the capability for UAS and AAM assets that have a governmental purpose to be able to take off out of here and get into that bomb range without an escort. Those are some of the capabilities that we're working together to try to achieve. And would like to be able to see larger systems get up into Class A airspace where they're operating, completely in a completely participative environment. And we feel that will help us be able to work with all kinds of different OEMs, again, both on the larger, more advanced UAS side as well as advanced air mobility, to be able to develop capabilities and really be able to help connect Kansas to other areas where AAM opportunities are being led. Some research collaboration opportunities, they're listed here. These aren't areas where we're necessarily the only experts. These are areas where we see there are opportunities for us to partner with KSU and NIAR and others to be able to help develop these technologies as they're relevant to really being able to promote the successful integration of AAM assets. We did receive notice of a KDOT Innovation Grant, $1 million grant that is going to help us be able to develop an advanced UAS flight operations and simulation center. This is going to have direct implications for AAM simulation opportunities. And then there's other projects that through our partnership with KDOT that we're that we're excited about, and would love to be able to talk a little bit more, but just for the spirit of and sake of introduction, wanted to be able to share this for those that are looking for collaborative opportunities with us. And that's really it. This is a video that I like to show. This is Travis flying a flight simulator. This is a beta simulation example, but these are the types of capabilities that we would like to be able to have on campus. This is not an on-campus simulator. This was out at the Springfield Airport in Ohio, but a good example of the types of capabilities we're striving for here on our campus. Okay, so I apologize that I know there was a lot of slide there, a lot of information, but just wanted to kind of get the introduction out there. And any questions or comments?
Anything for Kurt, KSU, or any other question for that matter? All right, quiet group. It's a Friday. Everyone's ready to call this one a week. So thank you, Kurt. Appreciate it. It is very important that this is, again, a state of Kansas collaborative effort. Please use this as a springboard to start conversations and work together collaboratively, and then come back to the group. We can have a meeting once a month, sooner if something comes up, or later if we don't have anything major being developed. However, we really do need to have these conversations offline. Do not wait until the next meeting to start having conversations. I know that Commerce, I'm excited. Commerce has some things that they kind of started a little bit, and looking forward to pulling our efforts, collaborative efforts together to see where we can go to help further the conversation. But thank you guys all for joining us today. And if there are any questions, please bring them up now. Otherwise, I'll give you a little bit of your Friday back. Brandon, was there something, or? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mostly just wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Ray, and all the other partners who were involved in putting this together. You don't have to, but you did. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Brandon Naylor. I'm the Legislative Director and Deputy Chief of Staff for Representative Sharice Davids, who represents the Kansas 3rd District. And I'm out here in DC. This is something that our office is actually the broader advanced air mobility and eVTOL space is something that we've engaged on for a few years now, and have kind of been wondering how things were going to shake up, sort of at the state level. I will also say that Rep. Davids and Senator Moran's office, we work really closely together. We actually passed a piece of federal legislation that was S816, I think. It was the Advanced Air Mobility Coordination and Leadership Act that actually set up the advisory board at FAA to even discuss, both promotion and coordination. What does the regulatory future look like for eVTOLs and AAM? All of that to say, I'm going to speak on behalf of Lauren Bates with Senator Moran's office, who I'm almost certain is in London at the air show. But please don't hesitate to contact your federal partners, because we sit in a place where, we're, in her case, dealing with the entire state, in my case, dealing with, the greater Kansas City metro area. And as much as we like to stay involved in things like advanced air mobility, we can't press that conversation as much. We're mostly, we look at it as a bottom-up approach. So much in the same way that Ray encouraged everybody to have offline conversations, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. At the very least, I'm sure Lauren would welcome the opportunity as well. We've really, the other thing I'll mention is that only about 2 months ago, Rep. Davids launched, along with a member named Representative Dusty Johnson from South Dakota, as her Republican counterpart, the Congressional Sustainable Aviation Coalition, which deals in some part with sustainable aviation fuels and that sort of thing, but also with eVTOLs and every other kind of sustainable aviation, hydrogen fuel cell, all of those things. And then Senator Moran picked up the mantle and started the Senate version of that. So you have 2 federal leaders in Kansas who, frankly, really want Kansas to be a showcase for all of the things that Ray is talking about. That's why I'm so excited to see this coming together. But let this just serve as an open invitation to engage your federal leaders as and if they're willing, because some of us are really excited about all the things that you're working on at the academic level. On the production side, I'll be bothering some of you folks at Commerce, because we have some fun ideas too. But anyway, just really excited to see this get going. Great job to the KDOT, the Commerce team, everybody who helped get this started. We're really excited.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the engagement also. It's very important that our legislators are not only involved, but excited about the potential. So thank you for participating. Yes, question. Mr. Cho?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm Haiyang Chao. I'm an associate professor from Aerospace Engineering Department from KU. So first of all, thank you for organizing this working group. I think I work on aircraft or UAS system identification, turbulence modeling, and weak vortices. So for several years, together with Dr. Ewing, we have a FAA project evaluating the at airport, what's essentially manned aircraft weak vortices impact to small UAS. I also had a earlier NASA grant working along that direction. So I saw Kurt's slides, kind of like just now I should ask. So I'm just wondering, Kurt mentioning, kind of K-State Salina is trying to build a vertiport. We are actively seeking, grant collaboration opportunities. We feel, urban air mobility, if university can team up with, other university or team up with the state of Kansas, if we have those infrastructures, I feel it will be beneficial to us as university researchers at, I mean, maybe to Tektron Aviation or to Garmin. So I'm just out of my curiosity. So Kurt, do you have a concrete plan yet? Hey Kurt, yeah, and then see like when you will have it built, or it's just right now it's, I mean, on paper.
So I would say that it is more than on paper. This is something that, so with the partnership, the Salina Airport Authority is actually leading this initiative for Salina Airport. We're co-located, our campus is co-located on the airport. And so we're really in a supporting role with that initiative. But I would say that it's a little bit past the on paper point, but we are pursuing grants and opportunities to be able to not just research what the best technologies would be for the capability, but then also to be able to, once we have a good concrete plan in place, to be able to pursue that development.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody from Airport Authority would like to jump in, or Lindsay, not to put you on the spot.
Sure, I can jump in. This is Peter Miller from the Salina Airport Authority.
Oh, thanks, Peter.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, we've got actually we've got four of our heliports that we already have on the airport that we are looking at either dual use heliport, vertiport, or full on vertiport, realization to do that. At this point, we've read the engineering brief that the FAA provided for us, or provided out to the public, I don't know, probably a year or two ago. And I've been working with the Central Region FAA Airports Office to determine exactly what a vertiport is and what they're going to need. So one of the things that they told us was that nobody's converted at least in the Central Region, nobody's converted a heliport into a vertiport. So they would like us to put together the plan and then use that as the example of how other airports and other locations can actually do that. So we actually haven't changed any paint or anything on the heliports yet, but it's all kind of in the background. We're working on it to figure out exactly what it looks like and who would use it and when they would be able to use it. So that's kind of where we are at this point.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate those information. Hopefully later on there could be some, I mean, proposal collaboration along that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything we learn, anything I can figure out, I will absolutely share with the group. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
See, that gives me goosebumps right there. That's the exact hope that we're hoping to have. I will say one other thing that is, that I'm hopeful through this collaborative process. If we do recognize as a group a need, then it won't be just one entity asking for it. There will be several organizations throughout the state that are helping to support that ask, and that carries a lot more weight with whichever grant or application or government body that we're reaching out to. Mr. Ewing?
I just wanted to say that the city of Lawrence is also looking at a vertiport and other advanced air mobility infrastructure, but it's in a 10 to 20 year plan. Don't know where in that 10 to 20 year period of time it would be coming to fruition, but a lot of people, I think everybody that's got an airport is thinking about a vertiport.
One thing, if I could jump in and Mark and Pierre, maybe it's an opportunity for us to approach Assure and the FAA is, they had, the FAA had some published guidance on vertiports and they rescinded it. And I think that they're regrouping. So there could be an opportunity for us to maybe pursue a funded research to be able to try to help develop what those vertiport specifications might need to look like. And I think that together we would be well postured to be able to pull something like that off. So just something for us to think about, and maybe we could collaborate on.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that too. Time Brothers Agri-Services are heavily involved in more of the air application side, a little bit of fire side, but we have also expressed a want and need for a vertiport, one or two actually. With our UAS test range, we have a couple of folks actually that are trying to retrofit existing traditional aviation. So like a Robinson helicopter, they're just trying to get full autonomy on that. Not necessarily UAS, but not necessarily AAM. So kind of in a weird little gray zone there. But we also have Part 145 repair centers and are very open to providing, being like a little convenience store for some of those and providing power to charge AAM or work on AAM when they're transporting, probably specifically from Kansas City or Topeka up to Omaha. I mean, we'd be right in the middle there. So yeah, we'd like to be included in said conversation as well.
Brandon?
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to dominate. To that end, just in terms of like long-term deliverables, as and if this group and or individual subsets of this group should come up with ideas. Something else that I'll mention is there are opportunities outside of traditional federal funding opportunities. Some of the members of your state delegation request community project funding, which is what we call in the House. The Senate calls it congressionally directed spending, I think. And as and if you come up with ideas outside of maybe traditional grant program opportunities. I know there's a pilot program passed that was the Advanced Air Mobility, I think Infrastructure Improvement Act was part of the IIJA, where they set up a pilot program for some of those infrastructure improvements. But it's not untoward to think that, like, if you came with a proposal and it worked through KDOT and KDOT made a request of those member offices, like, I'm making this up, I'm not proposing anything, but the Kansas vertiport like conversion program or something, and these 12 discrete projects for this discrete amount of money are proposed to congressional offices. Like I said, Senator Moran and Rep. Davids have worked pretty closely on some things, so it's not like out of the conversation. And I will also just say, from a federal funding cycle, it's good to be thinking about that now, because if you were wanting to put in those sorts of requests, and for our side anyway, they do have to come from a government entity, so it would have to come from the governor or KDOT or Commerce or one of the universities. But just as long as it's coming from a government source, we start taking those requests kind of February and March of a given year to put them into an appropriations discussion. And just to be very clear, those are directed monies. So for instance, Rep. Davids put in for 15 requests this year. So it's like a sewer project in this city, a culvert project in this city, and given the year and the majority and things like that, the total amounts can shift. But I think last year we were able to direct something like $34 million just to the Kansas 3rd District. Senator Rand did much better, both being an appropriator and representing the entire state. But bridges, like things that are hard line infrastructure, but there would be opportunity to do that as well, because the airport improvement program, for instance, is a part of the eligible accounts. So I am willing to discuss with people ad nauseum about federal budget process, but just something to keep in your mind, that you could certainly craft a proposal that comes from sort of a place after all these discussions that you guys have, and kind of run them through one of the conveners, and there's probably a funding source outside of traditional grant program.
Fantastic. Thank you for offering that. Thank you. Any other discussion, conversation? Comments, concerns, suggestions? All right. Barring none, I'm sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, so Ray, I'm right there with you. You said of having goosebumps on the conversations and stuff. I think this is a fantastic group to get together. I mean, I'm learning a lot just hearing the different experts and experience that we have gathered here. So you guys, I have to tell you, I don't think there's anything we can't pull off with this type of group. Okay. So I'm very excited about what we got moving forward here. The thing that also excites me about this is, from the commerce side, one of the things that we really push is that Kansas is the middle of everywhere. Okay, you never say you're in the middle of nowhere. We are in the middle of everywhere. So what better place to have AAM and stuff when we can reach all parts of the country, in a very short amount of time, basically. So yeah, we've got some great advantages that we can work with too. And again, like I said, the group we have gathered is going to be phenomenal. So I'm ready.
I'm extremely excited as well, Tim. Thank you for that. we are the air capital of the world. Let's remain the air capital of the world for the next generation of aviation. We have some amazing stakeholders that have agreed and really asked to be part of this, and I'm excited about what these conversations will provide. So thank you guys all. Have an amazing weekend. Hopefully you get your computers up and running and everything is working. I appreciate your time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, KDOT. Bye, guys.